has entered the shallow walls of the Hall of Shame this week? Who has been crowned the captain of coonery this week? Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Wankster of the Week. Now, this week's Wankster of the Week is a little different, actually. It doesn't just go to one singular person, no. It goes to a collective, a conglomerate, a crew, if you will. Ladies and gentlemen, the Wankster of the Week goes to the Oscars committee. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why are they getting the Wankster? I'm gonna tell you why. The Academy of Motion Picture and Sciences is getting the Wankster because of their ineptitude, to say the least, to not include any black actors or directors in their list of nominees. So, you're trying to tell me that in a year where we saw great films like Concussion, like Straight Outta Compton, and even Creed, we didn't get one single black nominee, whether it be from the director side or the actor side? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that has happened. Today, as of this recording, Thursday, the Oscars put out their list of nominees, and not one actor or director was black. Now, this hasn't been the first time that this has happened before. This has happened multiple years before. But it's the fact that with all the films that I just mentioned, for example, we had such great performances, pardon me, in the world of cinema that they still chose not to nominate any actors or directors that are within the color range whatsoever. I mean, I find it a little bit hard to believe because of the fact that we had a great biopic film in Straight Outta Compton, which not only had critical and rave reviews, but it stood atop of the box office for 4 weeks straight. We had a great movie in Creed where it was not just a Rocky sequel. Not only was it the best sequel or best Rocky movie since Rocky, basically, but it stood alone as its own film. It became the Rocky of this generation. Creed stood on its own as a film. And even with a film like Concussion, with Will Smith in it, this basically we're talking about a film that discusses the controversies within concussions within major team sports in America and the discovery of those things. But you're trying to tell me that none of those films or the directors who played in the background even get a nomination at best? No, there's something wrong here. There's something definitely wrong. And, you know, I find it hilarious when people say how racism doesn't exist because we have a black president or because there's so many black people doing great things in Hollywood or entertainment in general. But when you see a disparity of talented individuals who aren't getting recognized by their work by the largest platform, then you have to wonder, is there some internal or systemic racism that is happening within these fields? And you can't help but speculate, because there's no reason as to why movies like Creed, movies like Concussion or Straight Outta Compton shouldn't be in the discussion of nominations. If they don't win the award, fine, that's another debate for another day. But the fact that they're not even nominated? I mean, these aren't terrible movies we're talking about. We're talking about some heavily critically acclaimed films that were the talk of Tinseltown throughout the entire year. I mean, even last year they dropped the ball massively when the critically acclaimed movie Selma wasn't even nominated, both on the director side and the actor side of things. And now fast forward to 2015, and we're going through the same process over and over again. I mean, I always tell tell people that when it comes to black actors and black directors and they're starring in films that may be seen as a black film, quote unquote, then they're most likely going to expect to get praise from the more Afrocentric award shows like Essence or Soul Train or something like that. And that's all good and well. But if you are competitive and you want to strive to be the best that you can be at your field, then you want to receive accolades from the very top. For example, if I'm a hip hop artist, I don't just want to have the #1 single in the hip hop charts. I want to have the #1 single on the entire Billboard Hot 100. You want to strive to be the greatest. And I understand the frustration that these actors and directors are going through with the Oscars because of that very fact. The only thing, and mind you, I'm not a huge fan of the Oscars, but if I were to watch it, then the only thing I would be watching for is to see if my man Leonardo DiCaprio will finally win an Oscar, because he is long overdue for one. Let's keep it all the way 100. But besides from that, I think it's just a travesty and it's a disgrace that no black actor or director was nominated for an Oscar. I mean, let's keep aside the actors for a second. Let's talk about the directors. Director F. Gary Gray directed an excellent biopic take on NWA and how their rise to acclaim came to be. Not only that, but also discuss all the events that are happening within LA, like the Watts riots and the Rodney King decision and what have you. These are things that basically white suburbia was conditioned to not pay attention to until it became a thing where NWA started talking about these things within their music. And then it wasn't until the 1992 incident happened where everyone's eyes were open. And fast forward, we're still, Americans are still going through that still to this very day. You have a young director in Ryan Coogler who directed a masterpiece in Creed. He also directed a critically acclaimed piece in Fruitvale Station where it talked about a shooting that happened in Oakland a few years back. He directed an excellent piece on that and will be the director for the future Marvel film Black Panther. And you're telling me that a young, innovative genius like him shouldn't be nominated for his phenomenal work in reviving the Creed series? In the Rocky series? No one had been paying attention to Rocky since Rocky 5, maybe. We all know how much of a dud that movie was. Rocky Balboa wasn't bad, but let's be honest. Creed gave it a nice boost and gave us a Rocky of our generation, so to speak, that we can kind of feast upon, basically. And then the film Concussion with Will Smith in it, again, he opened up so many discussion plates about the history of concussions and why leagues were basically gunning for this doctor to not reveal any of the information about concussions because they were in fear of losing money because of that. Because players wanted to take safety precautions for their own benefit and for their own future. But no, the Oscars doesn't want to recognize those talents and those efforts to their black actors and directors. Why? Let's be honest, it's the systemic racism. Like, nobody wants to say it, but that has to play a role in it nonetheless. And because of that and so many other things in between, just the general political nature of it all, I got to give the Oscars the wankster. Do they deserve this collective wankster as a crew, as an organization, as a conglomerate, and whatever, stable you want to put them in? Of course they do. And with that, I'm going to drop it on them one more time. Just like this, hit him with the 50. Absolutely BS, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen.